Hey there, and welcome to Easy Does It Digital. If technology sometimes feels overwhelming, you're definitely in the right place. Now, today we're going to talk about something that can trip a lot of people up if they aren't really super familiar with the internet, and that's setting up Wi Fi on your computer. You can set up Wi Fi on different devices, but today we are specifically talking about a computer like a desktop or a laptop. And don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to connect your computer to Wi Fi step by step. So go ahead, grab your favorite coffee or tea, and let's get started. All right, so let's start with the basic question of what is Wi Fi? Well, you can think of it as how your computer connects to the internet without using cables. And it's sort of like a bridge that allows your computer to talk to the internet, like you see in the top picture there. Now, you're typically going to need at least four things to connect to Wi Fi, but they're all super simple and you probably already have them or you're in the process of getting them. So, first of all, you're going to need internet service from a local provider. This will vary depending on the area that you're in and what services are available. Where I live, we have two major providers, and in larger cities, there are many providers. So you do your research and pick a provider that provides a good value for you. Second, you're going to need a computer or device with Wi Fi capability. And by device, I mean it could be a tablet, it could be a some sort of AI device like an Amazon device, or it could be a cell phone. But today we're specifically talking about setting up Wi Fi on a computer. The third thing that you will need is a Wi Fi router. Most often, these come with your package when you subscribe to an internet service from whatever your local provider is, but they don't always come with them. So, check with your provider. If they do offer their own router with service for that router, that's usually a fantastic way to go because you don't have to troubleshoot your own router. If you run into problems, you can just call your provider and they have tech support who's willing and able to help. Now, if you for some reason need to buy your own router, fortunately, they're readily available at all your big box stores and online from places like Amazon. The fourth thing that you will need is your Wi Fi network name and password. Most often, these are configured for you by your service provider when they install it, and they will give you this information. But fortunately, you can change that if you would like to as well. But we're not going to get into how to change those things today. We're just going to jump into how to set it up. So, step one is to locate your Wi Fi settings. And first, let's find the Wi Fi settings on your computer. The instructions for this are typically going to vary based on what type of computer you have. They're in a slightly different place on Windows computers than they are on Mac or Apple computers. So, on Windows, you're going to look at the bottom right corner of your screen and you're going to find a little icon that looks like radio waves and click that. On a Mac, the radio icon is going to be in the very top corner and instead of the bottom. Now, when I say in the corner, it may or may not be all the way in the corner. Chances are it's probably not because in the area that I'm talking about, there are going to be other icons as well, like usually your speaker, your battery level if you're using a laptop, your clock and the calendar date. Those types of things are going to be there as well. So, amongst all those little icons, you're going to look for the one that looks like the one on this slide. Step two is to choose your network. Once you click on the Wi Fi icon, you're going to see a list of available networks. Now, it's interesting because this can greatly vary depending on where you are. If you live in a subdivision or an apartment complex where you have a lot of neighbors close by, it's highly likely you're going to be able to see their Wi Fi networks in your list. If you're more rural and not a lot of people around you within range have Wi Fi, you may only see your own. Either way, you're going to look through the list of all the Wi Fi signals that your computer can detect. and find your network name in the list. And just a helpful little hint, it's usually written on a sticker on your Wi Fi router, and it would be in that information that the installer would give you when they come out to actually install your service. So if you don't know for sure what it is, look at your router and see if there's a sticker with anything that matches something in that list. And if you're unsure still which network is yours, you can ask someone in your household if they happen to know, or check with your internet provider and they'll be happy to give that to you. And once you've found it on the list, you click on your network name to start connecting. And now we move to step 3. Here you will enter your password. And just another little helpful hint, network passwords are typically case sensitive. That means capital letters and lowercase letters are considered different. We might see the letter A and we recognize it as an A, whether it's capital or lowercase, but the computer sees those as two completely different characters. So that means that when you're typing in your password, you need to type it exactly as it's shown in the information, either on the sticker on the router or on the information given by the provider. It needs to match exactly. If you're worried about typos because all you see are little dots or stars as you're typing in, you can click the little I icon. And by I don't mean the letter, but it actually looks like an I. And you can click that and it will toggle the password as visible or not visible. So that's a big help. And another helpful tip, hopefully, is just simply not to panic if something does not work the first time. That's actually quite common. I've been using computers for a long, long time and I still make mistakes. So you just double check your typing and you want to look for tricky characters. For example, the number 0 and the capital letter O frequently look very similar. So you want to look and see if you can figure out if it's something like that. Other common ones might include the number 1 and the lowercase l. Those look very similar, and so on. They're more like that, but just always look for those things. So, what if it does not work? When you have set it up, or you've typed in your password, or you think you've done everything right, just remember that sometimes things don't go as planned, and that's okay. So, here are some quick troubleshooting tips. First of all, double check your password. Typos happen to everyone. Like I said, I've been using computers for many, many years, and I still make typos. So, you want to double check your password. And the second tip is that you might just need to restart your Wi Fi router. If there's been an outage or a disruption in your area, sometimes it has nothing to do with you, but it has something to do just with the machine itself. So restart the router by unplugging it, wait about 15 seconds or so, and then plug it back in. Then you can try to reconnect and see if it works. If it still does not work, then we move on to the third tip, and that's to restart your computer. Sometimes simply rebooting the computer corrects the problem and there's no further issue. If you're still stuck after trying these tips, contact your internet provider. They can walk you through more advanced steps that might be tailored for your particular model of router and for the service that they provide. How to tell if you're connected? Well, once you're connected, your computer will let you know. Sometimes there is a check mark beside your radio icon, or sometimes it just simply stops blinking. When you're trying to connect, it will often blink, but then when it's solid, you're good to go. And remember, on Windows, the Wi Fi icon is in the bottom right corner, and on a Mac, it will be in the top right. And both will look the same. It will be a solid signal. And to test it out, you just open your web browser and try visiting a website of your choice. If it loads, congratulations, you're officially online. If it does not load, then backtrack to those tips and see if you can troubleshoot. A few pro tips. First of all, stay close to your router. It's if you have a home office, it's a good idea to have your router in the home office with the computer that's going to be using the computer the most. Otherwise, it's best to have the router in a central location so that anyone in your home has about equal distance to the router, because the further away from the router, the weaker the signal typically is. Now, fortunately, you can purchase signal boosters, and I'll link some in the description below. But you can get those to boost your signal. So if you have the router maybe on one floor of your home and you have a need to use the computer on another floor, then that can be very useful to have those boosters. The second tip is change your password regularly. This keeps your network safe from unwanted users, and it keeps any possibility of someone just happenstance figuring out your password. So it's always good to just keep changing the password on a regular basis. And by regular, maybe for some people it's every 2 weeks, for some people it's maybe every month to maybe every quarter, but whatever, just change your password on a regular basis. It's not a good idea to keep the same password forever. Tip number 3, keep your router updated. Many of these will update automatically, but check with your internet provider to see if the router you receive from them does, or check the manual if you purchased your router separately. Tip number 4, make sure your router is secure, meaning in a secure location, and also um, any security features that can be turned on the router. And those will typically be provided by your internet service provider. They will be able to give you specific instructions for the model that you have. The fifth tip is to protect your network password. And most of the time, what this means is that you just don't share it with people, which is common sense. You don't share passwords with anyone, but you do have usually other family members in your home, or maybe you have guests that are coming who might need to have access to your password. And as long as you trust the individual, then it's okay to share the password with trusted individuals who need to access your network. Otherwise, don't share the password, and make sure your network, again, is secured so that outside individuals cannot get access to your network without that password. And tip number 6 is when your internet seems to be slower than usual, reboot your router. It could be reboot your computer or reboot your router. But in either case, that will sometimes help if your internet does seem to be slower than usual. And that's it. You've learned how to set up Wi Fi on your computer. You've learned how to do some troubleshooting. We've talked about some common issues, and you've learned how to keep your connection secure. Fortunately, we do live in a time where technology makes it easier than ever for us. And I hope this video made the process a little simpler for you as well. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Easy Does It Digital for more beginner friendly tech tips. And hey, if you have questions or topics you would like me to cover in future videos, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you.